Welcome to another edition of Meet the Visionaries podcast, sponsored by the MIT Center for Real Estate. We're delighted you could join us for a discussion on how investments impact green innovations in the real estate sector and its potential for transformative climate action. For today's important conversation, host Daniela Morales, a master's in city planning student at MIT, converses with Luis de Souza, founder and CEO of Finvest. So without further delay, take it away, Daniela.
Hi, I'm Daniela Morales, a research assistant with the Sustainable Urbanization Lab at the Center for Real Estate at MIT. Today, I'm joined with Denise Delore, the industry liaison for the Sustainable Urbanization Lab, and we have the honor to interview Luis Claudio Garcia de Souza, the founder and current chairman of Finvest Holdings. Luis Claudio is a legendary personality of the Brazilian financial sector, and he spent the last 35 years building up successful companies such as R&B Capital, Rio Bravo Investimentos, and UBF Seguros that changed the investment landscape in the country. Luis Claudio holds a civil engineering degree from PUC Rio in Brazil and a master's degree in system and transportation engineering at MIT. Welcome, Luis Claudio.
Hi, Daniela and Denise.
Luis, we're delighted to have you here. And I understand that you've actually been in Cambridge at MIT since September as a visiting scholar.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what was the impetus for that decision to come back on the MIT campus? And I do want to acknowledge that you received your Master of Science degree, as Daniela earlier pointed out, from the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering in 1975.
Right. It wasn't environmental at the time. I'm very glad that I've become, so now I can say I'm involved with the environment just since 1975. But that's the impetus for coming. I was in the process, I think, of changing some of my investment work. The main focus for my coming to MIT to Boston for the last 5 to 10 years was, in fact, biotech. So I started a biotech company in Pittsburgh. Then I had to move to Boston because of the Boston is the ecosystem for biotech. And at the time, MIT helped me out. There's a question of, it's a biotech has to do with organ transplants, organ preservation, regeneration, and so on. And we needed to buy organs for discarded organs. And the Western Pennsylvania Organ Procurement Agency, whatever, was giving me a hard time and said, maybe it makes more sense. It's now time to go to Boston. So I had meetings. My contact at the time, he's still around, Marco Munoz, he's lent me some office space here. So I had some meetings here, which I assume is impressive. To come to a meeting to MIT helped me out with this. So that made me decide to bring this biotech to Boston. So I've been coming here to Boston since then, once or twice a year. In all of my visits, I try to come to MIT, see what's new and so on. So I heard about the Center for Real Estate, which has been around for some time, but for some reason I had been involved. I didn't know, and so I decided to come. I decided to make. I think Marco set up a meeting with Citi, and so I came to MIT and I met Citi. Along the way, I saw a lot of posters talking about climate change. And then I asked Citi, this is real estate. Why are you talking so much about climate change? She didn't say that, but what I think she meant was, you idiot, don't you know that that real estate is responsible for over 40% of carbon emissions? I had no idea. So that's one thing that I'm supposedly a smart guy. I came to MIT. I went to MIT. I have a master, so I'm supposed to be smart. That's what they say. And I had no idea. So Okay.
So let me ask you, and you have been coming back to Boston/Cambridge for 10 years, but
Yeah.
there's a concerted effort to come back to almost take a sabbatical.
Yeah.
And you came
Yeah.
in September. I understand, Luis, that you're leaving, this Friday, but it's a solid chunk of time to be able to spend on the MIT ecosystem.
Exactly.
What
But
drove you
then,
to do
as I was saying,
effort?
it's mostly biotech. But then, when I had this very prestigious meeting with Citi, and we started talking, and then it's Brazil. Brazil is big. It's half a continent. It's a big country. What is nice about we have all sorts of problems, but we have scale. What we do in Brazil is scalable, whatever. So any initiative having to do with that. Plus, in the case of climate change, Brazil, is an important factor, especially because of the Amazon and so on. And we are basically a green energy country. We most of our energy comes from hydroelectrics, so we're not into fossil. So Brazil makes sense. So when I practically left my meeting with Citi, we had an agreement on setting up, but then we decided to have a fund, a research fund. So we sponsored a research fund with MIT. And then also at the time, so then we decided that it makes sense. If I had no idea about the impact of real estate in climate, I should make the rest of Brazil aware of that, at least my real estate industry. So we decided to have a conference in Brazil. So then all of a sudden I had a big purpose in real estate also. So I like to spend more time in Boston to sort out these new ideas that are coming up. I don't know exactly who exactly, but I got an invitation to come as a visiting scholar to MIT. So this is a big chance for me to think over some and reflect on things that I've been doing and so on. And maybe make some moves there, exactly what we wanted.
Mm-hmm. And what were some of the highlights of your time as a visiting scholar?
Let me just some of the things that have an impact. More in general. One thing that I had a very strong impression about MIT, which makes me appreciate MIT even more, is that I had been hearing MIT talk when Rafael Reif came down to Brazil 3 or 4 years ago, I think, and he started talking about making the world better, and that sounds very close to me. I sort of felt the way for personal reasons and so, and that made an impact on me. So I'm making the world better, and it is a purpose. And I see I think that MIT basically means it. That's what I told Rafael, that they mean it. I see every day people talk about making a positive impact, making the world better, making people better, people's lives better, and so on. I met the scientist over here at MIT. He's making a concrete that converts into a capacitator. So a chunk of concrete becomes a battery. So you put a car on top of that concrete and you charge it. It's an electric car. And so I saw that. And so we were talking. I was very amazed at what he was doing. We're going to try to bring that down to Brazil. But at the end of the meeting, I said, do you have all the IPs? Yes, he said, yes. Did you start a company already? Yes. So then I joked with him. So now you're ready to get rich? If you know, my invention, I don't really want to make money out of it. I want my invention to help. And then he talks about the global south. Global south, yeah, okay, that's me. That's true. People, I do feel that most of the people that we talk to, they talking about making a good, positive impact in the world, making the world better. So that's one of the things that not amaze me, but the confirmation that's the way that MIT is going is very impressive for me. And then also, I mean, I talk to both people on the climate change, real estate side, and so on, and also on the biotech and cap contact people, other things that sabbatical MIT provided.
And tell us about the conference that you led down in Brazil.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about, what was your objective? What did you seek to achieve by having this conference and having MIT involved with you at that time?
Yeah. The impact of real estate on climate is something that was new to me. I had no idea. I mean, cement consumes a lot of energy, so, but at the end of the day, it's not the products, mostly maintenance.
Right.
That is the heating and the water that emits carbon. So, wow, I need to make Brazil aware, one thing. The other thing is, since I have this connection with MIT, the MIT presence carries a lot of weight. So I have the opportunity to say, look, I'm coming to Brazil with MIT, and MIT is going to explain to you what you need to do in terms of real estate decarbonization. And that's what I hope to achieve. I was also very happy to see MIT, the city and her people interested about Brazil. We have this complex about Brazil that we should do better. We're a big country. We should be in a better shape than we are, and so on. But so that finally one day we're going to be a rich nation and so on, and make the world proud of us. But so I have this purpose of also helping Brazil, and MIT does that for us. At some point way back when I had a great rapport with Rafael, and I had some complaints. I mean, you guys, MIT doesn't look to Brazil enough. The MIT's office for Latin America was established in Chile. So, nothing against Chile, they have, but I mean, Brazil is half of the continent.
Right.
So you should. So I think that, as a matter of fact, Rafael started putting more weight on Brazil in terms of Latin America. So yeah, that made it impressive. So the more we can do with MIT in Brazil, also, it's good for Brazil. It's also good for MIT because, and then I realized coming to MIT, I talked to a lot of people from the various departments, and I see there's a lot of initiatives going on in Brazil that we don't necessarily know about. I understand that in terms of it applies to climate change as well, but President Sally Kornbluth is trying to coordinate all the climate changes initiatives, and I say also that the MIT Brazil people want to know what's going on and help out. So there's initiatives in education, in climate, in real estate, and so on that we should try to coordinate better.
Right.
And so what did I do? So MIT is more present in Brazil. MIT carries a lot of weight. I have seen this in the last couple of weeks, people looking to me. They also realize in terms of real estate, Daniela, I'm not sure how real estate you are, but city planning, whatever, we need to make Brazil more aware, but all of a sudden, it's obvious that you're going to build new buildings. The stock has to be retrofitted. That's going to have a big impact in cost. I mean, they're going to have to spend a lot of money to retrofit our existing. And also going forward, you're gonna build buildings that have to be green or carbon efficient. And so new funds, real estate funds now, all they talk about is we're going to buy buildings to retrofit, or we're going to build and fund buildings that are carbon neutral. So that is making an impact. And if you can say, okay, we can reach out to MIT to help us do that and have the technology to do green buildings, it's important. So now I have seen people coming to me, okay, we need to go green in terms of real estate. That is, I mean, I have to believe some impact has been made. I mean, there's a lot of press on that. So I'm happy. I see people coming to me, reaching out and say, look, help me out with this.
That's all really, really interesting. And I'm going to shift it over to Daniela now to ask some questions more about your founding of Finvest.
Yeah, I was hoping you could share a little bit about how Finvest was founded and maybe explain its mission in supporting like the development of technologies for climate resilience in real estate.
In benefit of Daniela, who's from Mexico, also of my first company that I set up was actually called Rio Bravo because of the river, and so we're going to call it like the Mexicans, not Rio Grande like the Americans. So because we are a company that was, I mean, we want to invest in Latin America. So okay, what's the border between Latin America and the first world U.S. is the rivers. That's the Rio Bravo. So Rio Bravo was actually the first company we had that we set up. Started selling companies. I had to give up the name. So Rio Bravo was the first company that I set up, partnership with S1E3, the big reinsurance stuff. They sponsored a fund, and they had a private equity side that invested in financial service, mostly insurance. And they wanted to do that in Latin America, and they wanted to partner with me. So they offered to set up a fund for me. So that's when we set up Rio Bravo. So we had set up a surety company. Surety does a lot of work with construction companies, with contracts, so they guarantee performance, they guarantee that the buildings get built, basically. So most of my clients were construction company. So that's my contact with construction company. I started that way. One of the Swiss Re's subsidiaries or affiliates was a U.S. company that specialized in guarantees for mortgages. So that was a company called Enhanced Financial Services. So, okay, because of them, I started thinking about mortgage-backed securities and how that helps. So I also, Brazil was more like, in terms of financial service, more like Europe. They had these huge banks, and the banks did everything, as opposed to the U.S., where capital markets play a big role. So a way to fund real estate is to issue mortgage-backed security and to have institutional investors buy them. So I decided that would be a purpose for me, making the funding of the real estate sector in Brazil more meaningful. And so I started, I think it wasn't the first. I mean, the banks had set up a securitization company for them. I said, no, that doesn't help. I mean, if we're going to use that only for banks, it doesn't help. So we set up our own, and we grew, and we basically introduced mortgage-backed securities for non-bank borrowers, whatever. And also at the same time, the same thing was happening with REITs, real estate investment trusts, real estate funds. So we set up a company that became the largest manager of REITs in Brazil. That was also Rio Bravo. Then we had an issue. We had to split Rio Bravo into two companies because of some conflict of interest. If you manage a fund that buys securities from yourself, it doesn't make sense. So we split the company between Rio Bravo, but I still tried to hold on to the name. I kept the initials RB. So RB was my second company. RB Capital was my second company, and that was on the structured finance side. So we grew that into structured finance. There's some opportunities we also do. Then we evolved to general private credit. We started with asset-backed securities. So that's the other thing that we do. More recently, I set up, in terms of this real estate initiative, we set up As rates started to come down, Brazil is very sensitive to rates and the financial service. So the general rate started to come down. Then we became more competitive as opposed to savings rates that the only banks can offer. So we were competitive. So we started a mortgage lender. So we created a company that name is for American Credit Home, credit for homes, and that we also sold to a big unicorn and so on. And that's basically when I sold all these companies. That started me thinking. So I thought that my cycle in this real estate effort was over, but then this visit to MIT and this new angle of climate change. Maybe, wow, there's a big purpose now, even bigger than bringing capital markets to Brazilian real estate. Is now helping real estate to behave itself and save the world in terms of not emitting more carbon.
That's wonderful. No, just kind of expanding on that, you shared that Finvest has obviously a really solid reputation with a lot of different partners. And you have over 30 years of experience in the financial services sector and real estate. I was wondering how this extensive experience has contributed to the success of the firm, especially in that context of climate change.
What do you know about climate change and so on? I said, look, not too much, but I can ask MIT. That's basically what I say. I can ask MIT and they'll figure out what products make sense or not. But my role is that I know the market, that I've been around, so I know most of the players. One of the not a problem, but sometimes when you sell companies, you agree to not compete for a while. So in terms of real estate, I was under a non-compete until a year and a half ago. So I couldn't go back to real estate anyway. So I wasn't doing much. I had some assets. I was keeping them I sold most of the company in 2016, 17. So add maybe 5 years to that. And 2021, 22, that's when I was allowed to come back, but it was still the pandemic and so on. But then we decided to go back. So I partnered with a very, well-established guy whom I knew from the past, and we decided to go back and go back into real estate. That makes a difference. I wasn't that involved anymore. I just sold most of my assets. I knew people, but now we're back doing investing more on the investment side. We're developing things like logistics centers in Latin America. We're investing in data centers. And that's the data center that the data centers require a lot of energy. And then it's not a joke, it's a fact, but we were going to use the super capacitor concrete to build our data centers. We're going to try to do something with that. That's part of that came out of this MIT visits and so on. Well, that's some of the things that we have been doing since. It was important to me because it gave me a new purpose on the real estate side.
I was hoping that you could elaborate a little bit more on the specific real estate climate challenges that Finvest is trying to target with its investment strategy, and how does the firm identify?
What I think is what we're trying to do is, we're also going to be investing in companies that manufacture products or provide services that help decarbonize real estate. Unlike some of the companies, some of the investments that I made, we started out, we're going to be investing through Rio Bravo, we're going to be investing in Latin America. This is not the case for real estate decarbonization. So we're going to be investing in companies all over the world. We want to invest in these companies. And again, where can I help? I can introduce all these products and services in Brazil. That means half of Latin America. We also have a good presence in Argentina, by the way. So the surety company I started was in partnership with Argentina. So we have lots of contacts. In my biotech side, we have lots of startups in Argentina. So we do go a lot to Argentina. So that could also be extended to Argentina. So what we hope to do is bring these best products to Brazil, maybe to Argentina as well, and help sell them to the Brazilian industry. That's my goal. Okay, so we invested in a company in Israel who has a system that basically controls online everything that happens in the building, everything related to energy, to water consumption, to heat, or whatever. So we're going to bring the system to Brazil. We can bring the system that I saw here at MIT, the super capacitor concrete. So we can also bring this company, since we're in the global south, we'll do that. We have, there's a company that went to and made a presentation in the climate change conference that we had in Rio. Also an American company that also provides services related to, and the funny thing is that most of these people that we talked to, what they wanted from me was more the introductions to Brazil than the money that I was investing. We didn't raise a fund yet for that, but so they wanted me, to help. My part of the deal was I'll help you get into Brazil.
That's wonderful. Kind of expanding on that,
yeah.
I was wondering if you could share how you navigate the challenges and opportunities presented by these different markets and regulatory environments.
So one of the things that we came out of the conference, people from all over talking about regulation. That's itchy. When we came back, we sat down and said, well, I realized that Brazil is, and she heard one of the officials that went to the presentation talking about Brazil regulating carbon credit market. So carbon credit is another thing that we're very interested in. So one of the things that Citi come out with, okay, now if you're going to regulate carbon credits, and since we are bringing products to Brazilian companies that will decarbonize, they will be entitled to credits for decarbonization. So maybe they can sell these credits. Maybe we can have a fund, buy them, and that way we even fund their investments in decarbonization. We can help them decarbonize and giving them the money through carbon credits to do that. So again, also carbon credit, we're still waiting to see how the regulation is going to go. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting. My next meeting here is with Roberto Rigobon from Sloan, and he is an expert in markets and so on, and capital markets and all. And I know he's been involved. Citi says they're talking about carbon credits and so on. I've known Roberto from other visits, and he's very involved with Latin America and so on. So one of the things is what's going to happen, especially to the U.S. market. There is no really regulated market for credit. And okay, it doesn't really make sense for us to think about a carbon credit fund if the U.S. is not in it. So we still have to but it's coming. That's another big challenge that we're going to have, and that's one of this is one of the big challenges also in climate change and how can we use carbon credits. I have been involved. We set up the mortgage-backed securities. I was privileged to be part of creating a market. I hope to do the same thing in creating a market for carbon credits, and not one like. And if we could do that with the carbon credits related to real estate, even better. So I know, we're talking with MIT, CREs about carbon credit related to real estate. Brazil is talking about regulating. It should be coming, but I still think we need the U.S. California has done it, so California is a big chunk of the U.S., but it has regulated, but we still need, I think, at the federal level, to see how that is going to make a big impact in the whole thing.
I think This has been such a stimulating and interesting conversation, and I think that we are so privileged to have had you here this morning. Is there anything else that you would like to leave us with as you have spent this time at MIT and are bringing so much interesting stimulation to Brazil and Argentina?
Oh, really like to encourage you to keep at it. I mean, as I said, this thing about the purpose in general of MIT and the professors and the students that I have met here and that have this wish to make the world better. Please keep at it. We need that too much. I mean, that's something else that I like to bring more and more to Brazil. Come on. We are a country that we had a generation that made money. We need a purpose. I'm trying to get we need a purpose. I mean, we've seen that. I mean, you have that in the States with the big tech guys and so on. I mean, the multimillionaires and so on. We need, MIT shows the way in that sense. Is very important.
Well, Luis, you've clearly demonstrated today that you're the greatest ambassador that Brazil could have. And we want to thank you, on behalf of MIT for your interests, for your sponsorship and your belief in MIT and its ecosystem. And we wish you all the best. And thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Fascinating conversation. Thank you, Daniela and Luis. The future looks pretty bright and a lot greener, too. Thanks to our listeners for tuning into another edition of Meet the Visionaries podcast. And please remember to stay tuned for future episodes by subscribing to our podcast or follow us on social media by visiting cre.mit.edu to learn more. Until next time, take care, listeners.